Hey, mister. Hey, your boom. Your boom is in the shot.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Your Boom is in the Shot. We've got a really special one for you today because it's going to be our very first soiree into video games. So with this one, we're going to talk about Jedi Fallen Order. It's not the newest title out right now, but it's near and dear to all of our hearts.
It is.
We got our buddy Zack on here again for another episode.
Yay.
Pleasure to see you again. I think we should just dive right into it.
Hell
How are
yeah.
you feeling,
All right,
TJ?
guys. 30-second thoughts. Zack is our guest again. Why don't you kick us off?
All right, so I really love this game. This is probably my favorite game, a Star Wars game, but favorite game in general in a really long time. I could play this game for hours on end every single day for the rest of my life. I'd be perfectly fine with it.
You should play some Dark Souls games.
Yeah, you probably should.
Yeah?
If you've never played a Dark Souls game,
No.
okay, so I'm gonna start off with my 30 seconds real quick. Sorry, I'm like cutting you off, but I need to say it's just a clone of like the From Software style Dark Souls game, but with a Star Wars skin.
Okay.
That's valid.
That is valid. And that's how I feel about the game. It's dope. I love Dark Souls and Star Wars.
Yeah. All right, so for my 30-second thoughts, I think it is the best Star Wars game since the first Force Unleashed.
Oh,
And
wow.
I think it's actually even better in a lot of ways. The game is, it's damn near perfect. When it first came out, it had a lot of glitchy problems, and it wasn't super polished. But once it got some updates, and especially once they added New Game Plus and they added a lot of the cool combat loop things, it got even better. I think the story's awesome. I think it develops upon the lore in a really cool way and plays awesome. And that's my 30-second thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say it's near perfect, but it's pretty good.
It's a little short. That's my biggest
problem with
complaint.
it?
That's my biggest complaint.
Yeah,
because
mine
there
too.
should be more of it.
Wow. That's not my biggest complaint, but that's valid. That's
I mean,
valid.
the thing is that when I started playing this game, I had been furloughed, so I had all the time in the world to play it, and I just breezed right through it in
Right.
like 3 days. So maybe that's why it was too short for me, but
Yeah.
it was. I could have done with at least
Like 3 or 4 more planets.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
that was a big issue for me. They didn't have nearly enough planets to explore.
But the planets were pretty rich. Like there were a lot
For
of
sure.
different pathways and like new things that you could easily overlook.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, absolutely.
stuff
I
like
mean,
that.
I think that that actually leads into my biggest complaint about the game, which is that there's way too much backtracking. I think it's
Yeah.
there's no fast travel, and for the amount of running past things that I've already ran past, that game became a slog. Like I really loved the story, I really loved playing the game, but I'm also like a whore for cosmetics. We were talking about Ghost of Tsushima earlier. There's a crap ton of cosmetics in that game. I will turn over every single rock just to get a hat. And in Fallen Order, there are tons and tons of boxes, and all of those boxes have cosmetic upgrades in them. And that means that when I'm playing it, naturally, I have to stop everything that I'm doing all the time to explore every nook and cranny to get all of the items.
I enjoyed that though.
I did it first, and then once I got about halfway through the game, I was sick and tired of walking through, like running for 5 minutes to get to a place that I'd already been to.
Well, like Dathomir is probably the biggest culprit of that.
Yeah,
Oh
definitely.
yeah, spoilers. By the way, guys, spoilers for everything. Yeah, because Dathomir like opens up like 3 times, and
Yeah.
like by the last time you're there, you're like, how many walls do I have to run up to grab these 3 crates?
True. At least the first time
I
you
can
get
see
to
where you're coming
Dathomir,
from.
there's like not a whole lot to do there. It's pretty small the first time, so it's like, you know, I can live with that.
Well, the first
but-
time you don't even necessarily have to go to it; they like leave it up to you.
yeah,
But if you go to it, you get a double lightsaber right away, so it's worth it.
Which I didn't even know about until my second playthrough.
Yeah, I told
Foolish.
you. I was like, have you done Dathomir yet? You're like, yeah, I just got done. I was like, how you like the double saber? And you're like, the what?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's really funny. When I played it through the first time, I unlocked Dathomir, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely not supposed to go to Dathomir next, right? It does, like it's telling me I'm supposed to go to the other place,
Zepho, I think.
Zepho, yeah, and like that's the icy Valhalla looking place, right? That's because that's the next place you go. You start off on the
that-
bog planet, and then you go to
Yeah.
whatever
We
the
started on Bogano.
Bogano, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. With the bog rats, which
Yeah.
are really great because they're the same thing as the Loth rats from Star Wars Rebels, except they're
Yeah.
on the they're on
Bogano.
so
Yeah.
they're bog rats. I love that because they're what is it? It's Lothar, whatever the fucking planet is that Ezra is from in Rebels. But yeah, they're like the same thing. And I think that's really adorable. But that aside, that second area that's not Dathomir, the one that's like icy and snowy and grassy all over the place, I thought that was probably the worst culprit in the game, because you go back to that one a couple times too.
Yeah.
And that one's, I think, one of the largest.
Well, the whole
if not the
underground is
largest.
crazy, especially once you get to
Yeah.
that area where there's like the little island and the water all around, and there's like 4 different pathways around the island you can go to.
Super fun. And with the fallen spaceship where you learn about Order 66, it looks eerily like the place that the Star Destroyer crashed in the end of Clone Wars, where Ahsoka buries all of the clones.
Yep.
Like it looks like a very similar scene. Like it looks almost identical.
Well, that section as a whole was just a big pain in the ass for me, especially when I had to the metal grates that were coming down. You have to move the boxes all around. For the life of me, I tried for like 25 minutes, couldn't figure it out, and finally I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll just go back.
Well, so I thought my game like broke the first time that I was playing through that part, because my dumb ass was like messing with a lot of the controls. So like I play, so I have a PS Vita, and a lot of times I will like remote play. So I was like actually switching around, because I have a Japanese PS Vita, so the X and the circle are swapped. So I'd have to go through and swap out my X and circle, and I'd swap things for like the back buttons. And so I had turned off the jump button, or the jump off of something button, like the drop from like a pipe. Yeah. And so I got to that part where I was shimming along a pipe, and I couldn't get him to jump off no matter what I pressed. And I was like, the game's broken and I can't proceed. And for like 3 weeks, I like didn't do anything. And then I realized I didn't have my drop down button on. And then I proceeded. Hilarious. But then from there, I got stuck again trying to figure out how to get across the water that's like electrocuted. And I realized I just had to cut the damn thing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's really funny, actually.
Yeah, I'm dumb. I know.
No, it's kind of neat. I bet there aren't a lot of people out there using Vitas to remote play their PlayStation 4. I had a Vita, and I don't know where it went. Like, there was nothing wrong with it. Once I moved out of my mom's house a few years ago, like I've not seen it since, and it's kind of heartbreaking, because I love my Vita. Yeah, Vitas are awesome. You know, they're way better than 3DSs are. And
well, especially now that you can jailbreak them, because that's what I did. I play PS1 games on there now. Yeah, and I play a lot of like, you know, Genesis games and NES games and stuff like that.
I do all that stuff on my computer. I have a Wii emulator on my computer. I play.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, guys, we're huge nerds.
Yeah,
but
except me, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, all right. So an emulator.
Oh yeah, give me a 10-second definition on that Ben term.
Whoa. Yeah. So an emulator is a program that you can run on a computer, or like any device that has computing power. That will mimic the operating system of a console that's existed in the past. So
so you can make a PC play an NES game,
right? So my first introduction to emulators was when I was in high school. There was an emulator on iPhones to play Game Boy games.
Oh, sweet.
So I played all of the Pokemon games up to Diamond and Pearl, was the generation that it didn't have. So once all of the advanced games and Game Boy Color games you had on the emulator, so I could play them right on my phone in class. As an adult, I now have a Dolphin emulator on my computer. Fuck you guys, Dolphin, you suck. Also, super fun. I can play Wii games. I can play GameCube games. Playing Twilight Princess, the Wii version, on my PlayStation or on my computer has been like a pretty rewarding experience. That's like my favorite Zelda game ever. Don't judge me.
That is a weird pick.
Yeah, right. The remake,
really weird
right?
Pick.
So I think the original Twilight Princess is better, but because it's the original. But the remake for the Wii was like my first Legend of Zelda game that I played on my own console. That was mine, and I played it all the way through like 3 times. So like it's got a special place in my heart. So that's why I go with the remake. But I do think the original is one of the best Legend of Zelda games, and it's because it's so different than all the other ones. It's like super dark, and it feels like a Legend of Zelda game, but it's kind of edgy. I don't know. It's like the story in Twilight Princess is just my favorite one.
I mean, it's like Link's Awakening, like where it was like, it still feels like a Zelda game, but it's such a divergence from the other ones. The plot.
Yeah, for sure.
But to corral it back to Jedi Fallen Order, we should probably get into like the sections, break down our elements here. We've kind of glossed everything. We kind of gave like our 3-minute thoughts and everything. But I kind of wanted to talk about gameplay, difficulty progression, all that stuff. I mean, the exploration is definitely part of gameplay. But what did you guys think about the combat? Because it is very Souls.
It's easy Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, because this is actually one of the very first games that I've come into after really not playing any video games for years, So for me, I was a little worried that it was going to take a long time to pick up, but surprisingly, everything was very easy.
What difficulty did you play it on too? Because that makes a huge difference with
Okay, so get this. I tried at the hardest difficulty. I die in 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
normal. Yeah,
I go down. I keep going down a difficulty every single time, and now I'm dying at like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, every 10 minutes. I go down to story mode, and I'm only dying like every half hour.
That's really, really funny.
Yeah.
So I'm a longtime Dark Souls player. I've played all of the Souls games. I've played Sekiro. I've played Bloodborne. I'm a From Software diehard. And there are rules that the game doesn't tell you. Like, don't get greedy. Like, that's number one rule in a Souls-like game. You know, there are like remembering that even the weakest enemies will always kill you, no matter how strong you get. The important rule for a Souls-like game. And it's really funny because when I first played Dark Souls, I had like an older brother figure in my life who had played it before me. And that was like, oh no, you got to do this to beat Ornstein and Small, you know? And I can't imagine what it'd be like playing a Dark Souls game or a Souls-like game the way that you've played Jedi Order. Starting at the hardest difficulty is something I would recommend doing.
Yeah.
But you have to know those tricks because you're going to die a bunch of times. And if you're playing on the hardest difficulty, like I played it for the first time on the hardest difficulty. And
I didn't fuck that. Second playthrough, I went on the hardest difficulty, but the first one I kept it on normal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I've got this thing in my head about playing video games where ever since I started playing Dark Souls games, where I have to play the games on the harder difficulties because if I don't, then I don't get good, as they say.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like with Souls-likes in particular, they don't have difficulties. So like Dark Souls games, difficulty is artificial. If you want it to be harder, then you put those limitations on yourself, right? You choose to use less armor or a different weapon or whatever, or not upgrade your character in an efficient way. In Fallen Order, like I think Fallen Order is pretty easy in comparison to most Dark Souls games. So playing on the hardest difficulty is really the only way that I could get through that game and feel like it was a challenge, which is definitely part of like the rewarding aspect of that kind of gameplay.
It's a weird game because it, like in terms of difficulty scaling, because yeah, from playing it, I never played it on story, so I'm curious how that went. But like playing it on normal, I almost never really died. I think I only died like maybe 2 boss fights. For the most part, I only died if I fell off something, which happened way more than I would like.
Yeah, it's definitely a platformer in a lot of places.
Failing to grab something when I swear I pressed the button at the right time.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Or like, I get hit by one of those little bog rats and fly off the edge.
Those things are annoying.
So there was that. But when I played on hard, I found that like the enemies, like the normal grunt enemies, didn't change much, but the bosses were like crushingly difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think some of the bosses were harder than others.
The one in Kashyyyk is hard as fuck.
What's up?
The one in Kashyyyk is hard as fuck.
That's the second sister?
The big one.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought she was super easy.
Really?
I thought she was really fun to fight. I thought her boss battle was incredibly fun. I didn't think she was terribly difficult, though. I beat her first time.
Huh.
And I'm not trying to brag here. I think I have like a different level of experience with this kind of game. Mm-hmm. So I had a different experience playing it. What I didn't like was the fight with the ninth sister that you like immediately are forced to lose.
The one at the end?
The one in the beginning. The first time you fight her.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, where you like automatically lose.
Yeah.
I guess you get her down to a certain point of health.
It's one of those things.
And then it goes into a cutscene. But this is going to be the first time you'll hear me talk about this, but I'll probably talk about it a lot over the course of these video game episodes. The one trope in video games that I hate more than any other is fights where you're meant to lose, or the fights where you can't win. Those just they're in a lot of different games and they bother me. They always bother me. Like if you're gonna allow me to play through this cutscene, then let me get rewarded for playing it well.
Yeah.
If you're just gonna have me lose, or if it's just gonna go into a cutscene after a certain amount of time passes, then just make it a cutscene from the beginning, and I'll be a lot more satisfied.
Or make it like a quick time.
Yeah, fuck quick times.
You don't like quick times?
I'm not a big quick time fan, no.
Yeah, I usually turn them off. Like I usually just let it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when cutscenes happen, I get distracted. I'll like look at my phone.
Yeah, quick times are stupid.
Yeah, and they'll fuck me up.
Quick times are stupid.
I would still rather a quick time than what you're like than
a cutscene.
I'd rather a cutscene, but I'd rather a quick time event than a fight that you can't win.
No, you can't win. Oh yeah.
If I had to pick one or the other.
If I had to pick one or the other, I'd pick a quick time as well.
Yeah.
See, I really enjoy the quick time elements though.
Really?
Yeah, I think it makes it more engaging.
That was the thing they did a lot in Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
They did a lot of quick times.
That
So you take out
that
the
whole
creatures
era
and
of
stuff.
games was like a quick time
Yeah.
era.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember it was really once God of War came out, like that was the thing to emulate. Everybody wanted to do quick time, badass cinematic scenes. And I never liked those games to begin with. Like I've never been a God of War fan. The only one I actually like is the new one, which is
New one's awesome.
an RPG, not a traditional God of War game. And I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for that because most of the gamers that I've ever met have loved God of War.
I mean, I more or less agree with you, so I'll back you up.
Oh, that's actually pretty awesome.
Really?
Yes. I mean, I like the original trilogy of God of War games. I like them. I love the new one, though. Like,
Yeah, the new one's dope. The new one's fun.
old ones don't even compare to it for me.
I'm also more of an RPG guy anyway, so
Yeah.
it's like, or I guess a more open world RPG guy. you
Also,
know?
like when I played it, I just freshly, like when it first came out, I just freshly replayed Shadow of Mordor.
Oh yeah,
And so it was like a natural progression from that,
that's kind of funny.
set me up for it.
Yeah, I mean, I have mixed feelings about the Shadow games. They could have been really amazing, but
Yeah.
that should be
Another
a future
discussion for
rewind
another day.
episode. What's
Yeah.
up?
It's another discussion for another day, but yes, I
Yeah.
also agree that could be its own episode.
Yeah, let us know if you guys are interested in that because I think there's a lot that could be said about that game series.
yourboomisintheshot@gmail.com.
Bam.
Yeah.
Or YouTube comment section if you're on YouTube. By all means, that's quicker.
Yeah, for sure. Or you can hunt me down and you can nail Post-it notes to my front door. I'm also okay with
Ooh,
that.
I like that, Ben. send a carrier pigeon.
Yo, carrier
Where the fuck
no,
you
no,
know?
no, 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 no. Come on, dude. Ravens only.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
Yeah. I can go with the Ravens.
But anyway, back to Fallen Order.
Yeah. So I think we pretty much covered gameplay and all that. Well. So what about progression? How'd you guys feel about the progression of skill, the skill tree, and all that? Because I liked the skill tree. I didn't at first glance like that it didn't carry over into New Game Plus, but I kind of the second I thought about it, I went it would break the game.
Yeah.
Because if you can like double jump over certain things, like you can immediately do all of Dathomir.
You know what's really funny about that? There was a glitch in the first couple versions of the game
where if you tried to do that jump and you made it,
you could double jump. Yeah, you could.
You would
if
lock the
just-
game.
I did it. I made that
really?
mistake. Yeah.
wow,
Uh-huh.
I've only heard people on the internet say they did it.
Yeah. Well, all right. So I was really
Did you have
lucky.
to restart?
I didn't have to restart. I was really lucky. I don't know how I managed to do it, but when I landed on that on the other side, it wasn't like I don't know how to describe it. Like I made the jump because I looked like it was just barely close enough for me to make it.
Yeah.
And you know how in a lot of video games with like animations like that, where when you can be like halfway on a step and halfway off of it. And if you move forward, you can get onto it. And if you move backwards, you'll fall back down.
Yeah.
I was kind of in that position where I was like in midair, but like stuck to the mesh. And I could have gotten onto it.
You were like, I know, not.
Yeah,
do
I was
this.
like, I know. I was like, I know, because I read the thing about it online,
Yeah.
and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna
the
gonna fall
gods shown upon.
I was like,
you.
I don't want to start the whole first 3
They're
hours.
like,
of
Benjamin,
this
this is your
again.
last chance.
Yeah, right. So I was really lucky, but I did try to make that jump, and if I had been a little bit like less,
A little more committed to it.
a little bit more, yeah, exactly. If I had been a little bit more committed to it, I would have really solidly fucked myself over.
Yeah.
Did either of you like fill out the skill tree? Like get everything there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You did?
yeah.
Okay, because during both of my times, I still had at least like 4 or 5 left to get by the time I finished the game.
Well, my guess, Zach, is that might be a result of you playing on story, because I've noticed, like, just from playing normal to hard, is that enemies, when they're more aggressive, it gives you more chances to, parry and block and do things, and
That could be it, yeah.
that would give you more chances to earn XP.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I only played on the one difficulty, so I don't know. I never noticed that.
But how
actually
did you find that you got XP fairly quickly? Because I got XP a lot faster on hard.
Oh
than
yeah,
normal.
yeah. I never felt
Okay,
like XP
yeah.
was an issue in that game.
Yeah. Because it would take like hours for me to get like 2 skill points.
I mean, that is also a normal thing for a Souls-like game. I mean, in Souls-likes, you generally have to grind stuff. Like that's a pretty classic element. Now the
Okay,
difference
now you guys need to do an episode on this game.
on like a Dark
Yeah.
Souls,
Dude, when
There will
when
be when
Demon
there's
Souls is
another
remastered
yeah,
for the
yeah,
PS5, that's when we'll do it.
Yeah,
That's when we'll do it.
That'll be fun. I bet a lot of people out there, if they're video gamers who are listening to this, they've probably heard of Dark Souls or played it. It's like a cult classic game series, but it's brutal, man. And you can really, I mean, you feel it all throughout Fallen Order. That is clearly like the mechanics are straight ripped, like,
Yeah.
which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I think excuse me. I think it's a really rewarding type of game to play because in a lot of games recently, things have become too easy, you know?
Yeah.
Even like Ghost of Tsushima, as much as I'll sing its praises, it's too easy.
Yeah, it is. But it's also one of those things, Ben, like, I think we were saying this off the podcast last time we hung out, that like, you know, Ghost of Tsushima, and I would say this goes for Fallen Order as well, that like, and Marvel Spider-Man, I think we said is another game like this, where it doesn't reinvent the wheel by any means. It does, you know, the basic stuff, but it does them well enough, you know, that like, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's different about Fallen Order, and one of the reasons why I like it a lot, is because it doesn't reinvent the wheel in terms of basic mechanics, but it kind of hybridizes mechanics in a way that I've never seen in a game before. Like, it's a platformer just as much as it is a Souls-like combat game. And
also like an RPG.
And like an RPG, and there's puzzling, and the puzzling is like, I mean, it feels like it's straight out of a
Tomb
Zelda
Raider
game.
as fuck. Like,
yeah,
especially that one like
that's
light,
a better example.
That one light one in the Jedi temple.
Yeah. The Jedi temple, though, there was the one Jedi temple was super, super confusing with the waterfalls.
Yep.
Yeah, that one was. I loved that. That was a really fun dungeon, but it was like there were some complicated puzzles in there.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, really, really fun. Like, Dark Souls doesn't really have puzzles. It's got like brutal combat experiences, and those are rewarding in a different way, you know. And I think that's one of the things I like about Fallen Order is it gives me rewards for solving puzzles, but it also gives me rewards for being good at combat, and it also gives you rewards for exploring, which is
Well, it's good when games have those natural incentives, right? And that's what that's something that Fallen Order did well. It's something that Marvel Spider-Man did well. It's something that Ghost of Tsushima did well.
For sure.
You know, it's something that like a lot of games that they're based on, like the Assassin's Creed games, don't necessarily always do well. You know,
absolutely.
You have a lot of incentive. Like when you see everything on your map, like in Assassin's Creed Origins, it's like, I don't care.
I don't
want to do all of this. Why my map just looks crowded.
There's 1,000 fucking collectibles.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just going to ignore them.
It just feels like a slog the whole time.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
where like when you have like a good incentive, like with Ghost of Tsushima, not to get too off track, but like Ben and I are both saying like we would go through the map before we progress a lot of the story and just hit all the little waypoints, try to get everything because you have an incentive, because you want to keep developing your skill points and you want to keep, you know, getting more aesthetic, you know,
cosmetics.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, what do we think about real quick the graphics of this game? Because I also have
the graphics were amazing.
Yeah,
it's so pretty.
Yeah. It's very, very pretty, very serviceable to the Star Wars universe. Like it never feels not like you're in Star Wars. Like no matter whether you're on a ship, whether you're in a forest, whether you're in a snowy environment, it always feels like a Star Wars movie.
There is not a single Star Wars game that I have played other than Fallen Order that I feel like fits in the Star Wars universe 100% of the time.
I agree.
Like I look at the more recent Star Wars games, like the Battlefront games, and they have stuff from the Star Wars universe, but they don't feel like Star Wars.
Yeah.
You look at like KOTOR, right? KOTOR is one of the most famous like Star Wars game series, I guess, in history. And it's like, because it's such a different part of Star Wars history and lore, it doesn't really feel like the Star Wars that we know from the movies and the TV shows and stuff. Fallen Order does.
Because it feels like you're living, you're like living as a character in a character story in a Star Wars story.
Yeah,
you know, like it doesn't feel like you're just like with like KOTOR is cool, but it's kind of like a bigger picture thing, or like a lot of Battlefront feels like, oh, jump into this firefight that happened on this planet, you know?
Right. Whereas Fallen Order, I mean, like it feels the same way as I felt when I watched like Star Wars Rebels, you know, like Cal feels like a character in the Star Wars universe and in the current like mind of the Star Wars universe. Like he could have been a Dave Filoni character and I would not have been surprised.
And another aspect of the graphics that I really liked is especially the backgrounds. They're really detailed, like really well.
Yeah, the draw distance is really good too. So like when you're on a planet like Zepho, where like you can see, you know, like when you go to that area I mentioned earlier with the island with all the little areas around it, you can see like the mountains in the distance. Yeah. You know, and also that only expands as the game goes farther and farther, because the more you gain abilities to like jump farther or to like get BD to like zip line things or to swim and whatnot, you start to discover even more things that are far away. And it's part of that incentive, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that the game is beautiful. Like of all of the games I've played recently, it definitely makes my top 5 for the most beautiful games I've played in the last like 5 years. But what, you know, kind of in relation to that, something that I can't ever separate in my mind when I think about those beautiful scenes on those planets. My brain automatically starts playing those whistly Star Wars songs in the back of my head.
When you get a lot of those, though.
Yeah,
And that was the perfect segue to the next thing, which is sound design, guys.
Yeah.
This not only looks like a Star Wars movie, it sounds like a Star Wars movie, from all the sound effects, like the lightsabers and all the various creatures,
if you
to
had it
just the
running,
soundtrack. I mean, if you had told me John Williams scored this game, I would believe you.
If you played Fallen Order in the background and you were in the next room and you didn't know that they were playing Fallen Order, you'd think they were watching a Star Wars movie or a Star Wars TV show.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is spot on, which it has to be, right? Like, there's no way you could get away with a Star Wars game.
Well, they also knew that they
sounding
had
like
like
Star
one
Wars.
chance to get this game right.
Yeah.
Because if this game had sucked, that probably would have been it for like Star Wars games for a while. Because like the Battlefront games were not exactly a rousing success as the new ones. I mean,
Well, that's EA's fault, not necessarily.
well, no, of course. But like when they were like, oh, we're going to do a story-based Star Wars game and it's going to be awesome, everybody was like, it fucking better be.
All right. Yeah. Well,
so,
let's see.
yeah.
It better be better than The Force Unleashed, because if it's not, we're all going to be kind of ticked off.
And there's a key element to the score, especially in Star Wars movies, where it has heart, it has emotion behind it. And there's been too many times in recent Star Wars movies where the score sounds like Star Wars, it doesn't feel like Star Wars.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the placement, right? In a lot of ways, and putting it in the right moment. Like I've heard the Force theme overused so many times where like I'm like, okay, like episode 9, I think overuses it a few times. But like there's moments, in Fallen Order where you'll hear little sound cues, like you'll hear the Force theme, for example,
Right.
and it'll be in a moment that's like really relevant to it, where like he's, like when I think it plays when he gets the Kyber crystal, like, and it's really impactful because, Star Wars is one of those things that's nostalgic for a lot of people. And, I remember the first time when I went to go see Force Awakens opening night and just seeing, a long time ago, galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
And then, dun, dun, it's just you just all of a sudden you're like 5 again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
for
this
sure.
game continues that. It nails it at every turn. And the music is perhaps the most important aspect of that, the aural aspect.
Of calling back to that Star Wars aesthetic. And I think I'm inclined to agree with
transporting
that
and immersing you.
Now, I will say, I don't want to sing this game's praises 100% of the time fully, because I do think that like there are some problems that I have with it. And I don't know, this doesn't really fit in specifically with that sound design, but I just want to say it before I forget about it. How do you guys feel about that mercenary section of the game with the brood? Do you remember what I'm talking about when you get captured by the robot mercenary?
Oh, that's definitely my least favorite part of the
in
game.
The gladiatorial.
Yeah,
that part, unlike every other part of that game, that part doesn't feel like Star Wars to me at all.
Well, here's the thing: is that recently I've been playing one of the older Star Wars games from the PlayStation 2, called Star Wars Bounty Hunter.
Yeah,
Love Bounty Hunter.
What's that?
Bounty Hunter is great.
Oh yeah, and that part of the game in Fallen Order felt very reminiscent from that game. Like that's
Right.
the overall tone of Bounty Hunter. So for me personally, maybe it's just nostalgia, but for me personally, I love that scene.
So it felt like Star और to you because it felt like a Star Wars you had experienced before.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that I've never played that game. And that game doesn't exist on my radar because it's not part of the canon and it's not part of any of the Legends content that I've ever really cared about. So like the nostalgia factor from that is totally lost on me. What I get instead is a scene that doesn't feel like it fits with the overall vision of what Star Wars has been recently. Bounty hunters are super important in Star Wars, but like robot mech bounty hunters and like Mandalorian bounty hunters that are not actually Mandalorians that are also not Jango Fett doesn't really work for me at all. Like it feels totally like one of those artistic liberties that the developers took.
They were like, isn't this so cool that it's a bounty hunter, like the Fets?
Like, the ones that you're familiar with. And also we put a robot like 1950s junk mech in here also. And it's like, mechs don't exist in my mind in Star Wars. Like really. I mean, you've got like walkers and you've got like droids, but like weird like battle mechs doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
The aesthetic of that area is pretty valid though. I mean, I think it looks very
does look
Jabba
cool.
Hutt. Jabba
But
the
it does
Hutt's
kind of
palace.
remind me of like, you know what it reminded me of is that Love, Death, and Robots, the first short.
Oh, with the
With
kaiju
the battling
thing.
it's kind of
Yeah,
like that
that's funny.
arena, you know.
Yeah, it is kind of like that.
It's one of those, or it's like Thor Ragnarok, right? It's like that scene, like the gladiator scene, where it's
Yeah.
just like that. It reminds me of that too, where it's like, and send out this beast to take out our gladiator, and send out this beast.
I mean,
and-
that's a really classic video game thing.
Yeah.
But to me, the only video game that's ever done it in a way that I really liked was Ratchet and Clank. They always,
Yeah.
all of the arena fights in Ratchet and Clank games are always super fun.
well, that's kind of like their thing.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
That is having an arena area where you can do gladiatorial fighting. But it felt weird in Star Wars.
No,
Fallen
I
Order.
can see what you're saying. And it also, it felt more boring than the rest of the game.
Yeah,
Because you kind of wanted to get it over with, and
'Cause
get
it has
back
nothing to
to
do
the
with the rest of
action.
the plot.
It's like a diversion. It's kind of
Yeah.
like a less interesting version of something another Star Wars thing did, which was the final season of the Clone Wars, doing the diversion with Ahsoka and those girls,
Oh,
where you're like,
yeah.
okay, get back to like
They're the only
main plot.
episodes
However, you
in
love
that.
Ahsoka enough by that
Yeah.
point, probably, that you're like, I'm just happy to
Well,
be with Ahsoka.
If
but
you
at the same
don't
time-
love Ahsoka, you're wrong.
right, but yes, you are. But you probably at least tolerate Ahsoka, so you can usually. I think it's probably easy enough to just be happy to be on an adventure with her and back with her,
Yeah.
especially when she like
Even if her
left
friends are dumb.
a while ago at that point. But also, I think there's a part of most people probably going, all right, get back to the main story with,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
the Empire. We know Order 66 is coming. Come on, like, let's go. Let's tie into
Get on
3.
with it. yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you on that. But for all the weird things, there are some pretty amazing gems. I think the characters are super great.
That's what I wanted to get into next.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, I'm on the same wavelength as you, TJ.
Hell yeah.
I think the characters in Fallen Order really genuinely represent the type of characters that I want from Star Wars content.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
relatable
Yeah, I mean,
and
Cal
they're
is
sympathetic.
a lot like Luke from the original trilogy, and he's young. He's maybe naive a little bit, but he's got a moral center and a heart of gold, and he's focused on justice.
Yeah, and when he feels like a dimensional character, and that's what I felt about everybody that was in that crew.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
they were
for
all
sure.
imperfect. They all had flaws, so they felt like real characters. Like, you know, the whole revelation with
his master.
yeah,
Her name is weird.
Sarah, or
Yeah,
Sarah,
Cere. I think
Cere,
it is.
yeah.
Seer. Okay,
Cere.
yeah, and like that, she was like the master of the second sister and
Ninth sister, I
or
thought.
ninth sister. Is ninth what?
One's the ninth sister, one's the second sister. I don't remember.
Oh,
which
I'm
one is
second
which.
sister is ninth sister. 'Cause- yeah, second sister is the
The big one,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
We
just
might be
one
mixing
of the
those up.
sisters.
One of the Inquisitors who's not
Yeah.
the Grand Inquisitor.
And it kind of reminded me of like the Luke Kylo thing, you know, and she's kind of reckoning with, you know, the fact that she may have created a monster.
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it also
Mhm.
it felt unique enough that I was still like compelled by it.
Well, I think that, you know, it's really interesting because all the characters in Fallen Order, like, I think there are parallel characters in other Star Wars content. Like, I think that in a lot of ways, the duality between Cal and Seer is very similar to Ezra and Kanan in Rebels. And that's like, they're in the same situation, in the same dynamic.
Or Rey and
Yeah.
Luke in 8.
Or Rey and Luke in 8, yeah. And I think that and that's a really interesting like recurring theme. And it's an interesting thing that like,
It takes 2.
yeah, it takes 2.
It has to be 2.
Well, they're not Sith, but
No, but
they're not exactly normal Jedi either.
the Jedi are kind of the equal and opposite of the Sith in a lot of ways, though. So
Yeah, that's true. And in the wider lore, like there's a whole story to be said about, you know, the fall of the Jedi being the balancing thing for the Force. And
yeah, I mean, the Jedi were kind of fucked up in a lot of ways. The
Yeah, they
Jedi
were-
Order was
they were-
very problematic.
Clone
and
Wars makes
stiff.
that all really clear, you know,
Yeah.
that all the whole like thing with the father and the sister and the brother, and like the deep lore of the universe in Star Wars. But that all aside, I mean, characters specifically, who's your favorite guys
in the game.
Mine-
in
Or,
the game? Yeah.
My favorite has to be God, what's her name?
Is it Maris?
The one from Dathomir.
The Night Sister.
Dathomir. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
she's everybody's favorite.
Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah, no, mine's Darth Vader. No, I'm just kidding.
She's dope. She's like cracking
Yeah,
witty
it's
jokes
probably
all the
her.
time and like
Yeah.
making googly eyes at Cal.
Well, dude, and like, so when I had played the game when it first came out, I hadn't watched the Clone Wars in a while. And, you know, when the last season was gearing up to come out, I rewatched it
Yeah.
in preparation for it. And so then I was refreshed on all of the Night Sister lore.
Yeah.
And then so when I went back to play it a second time,
cool.
it made it so much richer knowing all of the Night Sister and Night Brother lore,
Yep.
you know, and Dathomir.
Yep.
So when I would
And
fight those
knowing
Night
that
Brothers, it's like, whoa.
All of the stuff that Maris is talking about is stuff that Count Dooku did in
Yeah,
the Clone Wars
dude.
series is like fucking mind
like the
blowing.
Purge of the Night Sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's
Yeah,
nuts.
I thought that was kind of wild. And I thought it was really cool that she sort of redeems in a lot of ways. She like redeems the evilness of Mother Towson from the Clone Wars by like teaming up with Cal for the greater good. And she humanizes them a lot because I think one of the sad things in the older Clone Wars episodes that had the Night Sisters is that
They're just like evil witches.
they're just like evil witches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for Ventress,
yeah.
who is like
Has a great arc, actually.
has a
good
really
redemption
awesome arc, and her
in that.
book is dope.
Yeah.
But like she's separate from the Night Sisters because she wasn't raised by them. She was raised by the Jedi and then adopted by Count Dooku. So like the only vision of the Night Sisters we get is like crazy like swamp witches, which is not super great.
Yeah.
You get a much clearer view from
They're kind of
Maris.
just so they play a function really for like to flesh out Ventress and to bring back Darth Maul. That's about
yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's
right.
Pretty much that's their purpose.
Right, they don't really exist for any other reason.
Yeah.
Where Maris's inclusion in Fallen Order and her role in that game is super interesting because she's like a real person. Like
Yeah,
she's
well,
also
she starts off like understandably standoffish toward Cal.
yeah, she's like fuck the Jedi. They
Yeah, why are the
killed all
Jedi here on my
family.
planet? You killed my people. Get
Yeah.
out of here.
Mhm,
You know?
mhm. And then he's like, but I'm a good guy, and she's like, yeah, and you're super handsome too.
Okay, see, I was
Yeah.
not getting those vibes at all.
Really?
You don't ship them?
You don't ship Maris and Cal?
Not really.
Oh, you're.
Oh, I get those vibes so hard.
I get those vibes hard too.
She's giving
like
him
when she
fuck me
throws her
eyes.
arms around his neck, like after he almost dies. Come on. And they like there's like a scene where they're like holding each other's hands and staring into each other's eyes. Like,
Yeah.
See, I would have. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I wouldn't have liked it at all if there was like an obvious connection there. It would have been kind of like a Kylo and Rey kind of thing.
yeah. It
for me.
definitely wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been good if they like.
But I
made
think
it
it's something
super
that
obvious.
there's groundwork to expand upon. If say they do a trilogy where
Well,
like
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
if
you
they
could start to
expand
build upon
in
it into
later
the second
editions.
one, and maybe by the third one they're exploring the possibility of being a couple.
Or
you know,
or
like,
if in the second one they're exploring the possibility of being a couple, but then that gets ruined by
and
the
then she
plot.
gets killed at the end of the second one,
Or
and he has to
or-
like revenge that.
or the
you know?
or the, yeah, I mean there's so many great things that you could do.
Yeah.
Like I think that Star Wars has a long history of doing romances really poorly. And I think that in this particular instance, the romance is so subtle it might not be there. But there are like there's the like you said, TJ, the groundwork, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's a reason
seeds.
why all of the people on Reddit are like on the subreddit for Fallen Order are like Cal and Maris, will they, won't they? And I totally ship them because I think it's a really awesome story thing, right? Especially since like what do relationships mean for Jedi? Because they mean a lot. You know,
Mhm.
all of the relationships we see
Like
that Jedi
Obi-Wan's.
have, Obi-Wan
Yep.
and Duchess Satine,
yeah,
and Anakin and Padme,
Mhm.
and like,
it's forbidden.
yeah,
because Jedi aren't supposed to have these, you know,
Yeah.
connections and these
Right.
relationships.
absolutely. But like the Jedi Order is gone.
Yeah.
And like, what is a
Right.
good Jedi? Maybe, you know, Yoda admits they've been wrong about a lot of other stuff.
Mhm.
Maybe they were wrong about that too. I mean, Kanan and, what's her name? The pilot in Star Wars Rebels.
The green chick.
Yeah, the Twi'lek.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like I think it's really interesting, and I think that like that makes for a lot better story than just like this boring like I can't have any emotions Jedi, because like the new Jedi in all of these Star Wars stories, like Kanan, Ezra, Cal, Seer, like all of them, they are not the Jedi from the prequel series who don't have emotions
yeah.
and don't accept emotions. Like, and
It's a far cry from Mace Windu, that's for sure.
absolutely. And putting Cal in a position where, well, actually Mace Windu is really interesting because in the deep lore, he's maybe closer to being like an emotional person than you would think.
Yeah, but by the time like he is factored into any story, he's kind of just a cardboard box douchebag.
Yeah, he gets watered down in the films, but like in some of the extended universe content,
even in Clone Wars, he's kind of there just to be a dick.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's a huge dick in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But like there's also a lot of deep lore about like where his fighting style comes from and why he's like a dick.
Well, the story behind why he has a purple saber is awesome.
Yeah,
But that's a story for another day.
It's you could talk about Mace Windu for a while. If you guys are interested, I'm going to throw out a plug for a YouTube channel that I watch about Star Wars lore all the time. It's Meta Nerds lore. They also do some Halo stuff now too, I guess. But they've got a lot of like detailed lore videos. And then Geetsley's is the other one I watch. And those are really interesting because they talk about legend stuff and canon stuff. And you get a lot of perspective because I can't read all of the Star Wars content in the universe because there's just too goddamn much of it.
Yeah.
So I try to like narrow my vision to the canon world. But like learning some of the stuff from Legends is really important because one of the things I learned about Star Wars watching the Clone Wars and Rebels, especially with Dave Filoni, is that he draws a lot of his content from the Legends universe, and a lot of it is still relevant, if not explicitly stated. But anyway, I ship Maris and Cal, and that's the
me too.
The bottom line.
Oh, Zach, you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little something. Also, 2 other YouTube channels that people can check out that I watch are Star Wars Theory and Star Wars Explained.
I've seen Star Wars Explained.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those too.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I've never been able to get into the either of those channels, and I've seen them.
Yep.
And something about like even the ones I watch are like super low budget, and like the Geetsley's ones. It's like an Australian guy or maybe he's from New Zealand. I'm not really sure. And sometimes he says stuff that I'm just like, I don't know if I agree with. Like he does like subtle like jabs at the new trilogies. He's like they're terrible. We all know that Disney can't handle Star Wars, and it's like I don't agree with that. But then like
Ben and I are used to being on the offensive in defense of at least one of the new trilogy movies.
Yeah, the one that everybody hates the most, I think, is the best.
It's the best one, and if you don't think so, you're wrong.
Yeah,
and if you don't think you're wrong, your boom is in the chat.
We still haven't done an episode on that, have we?
An episode 8?
An episode 8.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, that's one day you guys will find out why you're all wrong about that movie. But
I had an idea to do a full like Star Wars rewatch, like at least of the movies discussed, because I got the despecialized original trilogy pretty recently.
That's so awesome.
And it's I got to bring it over sometime to watch on your
TJ,
TV.
tell us what the despecialized version is.
For those of you who don't know, the Star Wars Despecialized was a project that was done by this guy named Peter Harmey, who it started, I think, in like 2010. He was just like a huge fan of Star Wars, and he really wanted to be able to watch and to show his younger brother, who was like, I think he's like 6 or 7 at the time, what the movies look like in their original form before George went back in the 90s as the dry run for the prequels and added all of the special effects. Because when you watch the original Star Wars trilogy now, it's really tainted by a lot of really garbage CG as a result of the technology not being that great at the time and not that well developed. And so like it distracts in those movies a lot because you're like, oh, there's another ugly, unnecessary shot of a random creature, like in this planet or whatever.
Dewbacks
exactly.
We didn't need to see.
It's just ugly. And so Disney and Lucasfilm so far have just refused to release the original versions of Star Wars pre the effects in any kind of official manner.
George Lucas is just ashamed.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't exist. Like they will not make it. And so his thing was like, well, what if we, the Star Wars community, and he got help from a lot of people around like the Star Wars community who were good with video production and stuff. And through a lot of different techniques like rotoscoping and various video editing things and After Effects and whatnot, he had recreated the original trilogy using like different sources, like old VHS tapes.
He used like stills from like
he used matte paintings for like the stills and then rotoscoped back in characters. Yeah. Like he did some crazy stuff, and it's a really, really super rich project. And if you haven't looked into it before, then you love Star Wars, you should go check it out. They're kind of hard to get your hands on though, because like they're in this really weird gray area legally. Like they're not selling them, they're not making any money off of them. And so far, surprisingly, Lucasfilm and Disney have been pretty chill about it. They haven't come down on these guys and like made them cease and desist. But it's also, you can't, because it's not official, you can't buy it. So you kind of have to like do your, research on the internet to find like, .mkv files of it and stuff, and get a player that'll play that stuff and whatnot. But if you have the patience to try to get it, it's worth it, because it's a magical experience to see it. First time I watched the despecialized episode 4 with my brother a couple months ago when I first got him, is like just it popping up in the opening crawl doesn't say Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. It just says Star Wars.
I think for me the most egregious damage that was done to that original Star Wars was that they recolor graded the whole movie. It
made it really blue and pink.
And yeah, there's so like all the blaster bolts are really
super
kind
pink.
of magenta-y.
Or like magenta.
Yeah, and there's a particular scene, it's probably one of the most famous scenes from episode 4, where Luke walks out of his underground hut and stares off into the twin suns of Tatooine, and there's sort of like a wide shot
with the Force theme.
With the Force theme, yeah. It's a really beautiful shot. I mean, it is like, in essence, what Star Wars means to me is in terms of aesthetics. And it's really hindered by the recolor grading, because the original one is really orange and yellow, and it's got this really beautiful hue to it, this beautiful sunset hue. And the remastered versions there's something off about them. They just don't feel right in the same way.
They're also like super duper sharpened in a lot of like weird ways.
Now, I will say the newest remastered versions on Disney Plus, I think, look pretty good. They're almost totally free of film grain.
Except they updated Han shot first.
Oh my God, that's the dumbest fucking thing.
That's another thing, is Han shoots first in the despecialized edition. So if you're a Han shot first person, then it's a victory for you.
It doesn't fucking matter who shot first. That scene is dumb.
I think it matters because it should just not have been changed.
Yeah, it didn't need to be
just
changed.
should have.
There was no reason for its change whatsoever.
Like George has said in the past, like, oh, it made Han Solo a cold-blooded killer, and you're like,
so
no, it just made him like a Western badass. He was a quick gun, like quick draw, like he would just fuck you up. Don't mess with that guy.
And Greedo was gonna fucking shoot him in the face.
Right. Exactly.
So,
it's fine. Don't worry about it. There's a lot worse things you can pick on with your problems with Star Wars, George, than Han shooting Greedo.
Yeah, I mean, Han is kind of a dick, like, in general.
Han is a dick.
So, like, let him be a dick. Like, he doesn't have to be, like, family friendly. Like, he doesn't have to be made into a family friendly character.
Right. I would agree.
I mainly grew up with the specialized edition on VHS, like the original 3.
One of the worst ones.
Well,
all the ones that came out in '97, that box
VHS,
set. Yeah, I have those too.
But see, so for me, being able to see the original 3 films as they were intended, as they should be, it's just going to be a magical experience.
And they're also in high definition.
Yeah.
Which is great too. So it looks like up to par, like next to the modern Blu-rays.
Yeah. I will say though, the Disney Plus versions look really fucking good. Like at least just from
they do. They look better than the 2011 Blu-rays for sure.
Yeah, but we just went on a huge tangent. This is supposed to be about Fallen Order.
But it's still about Star Wars. So
that's true. It's true. Well,
so then, do you guys want to say anything more about the fit into the wider lore? We talked a lot about it already, but if there's anything else you want to say,
it's kind of inescapable. I mean, it's like a fundamental part of that game. It's like how it fits into the wider lore.
I was saying to Zack earlier that I really like this, along with the Clone Wars, how it's developing upon, not just developing upon Order 66, but developing upon what it was like for the Jedi.
Yeah.
Because in episode 3 there was, you get like Anakin and the younglings and all that, and you get like, Obi-Wan panicking, but like
it's not really Order 66 though. That's just
it's like, and you get like the clones like attacking everybody on Kashyyyk, and that's like the extent of it, really. So between the final season of the Clone Wars, seeing Ahsoka go through what she goes through,
characters we actually like care about deeply,
right? Exactly. And then we get it again. We get to see his experience when he's like, because we get to know his old master through those training segments, which are, first of all, really well integrated tutorials into the story. I love when games do that naturally. But like, we start to kind of care about that relationship, and we care about Cal over time too. So we care about his past, and we care about the people who were relevant to him. And there's probably no one more relevant to a Padawan than his master. So then to see him sacrifice himself to save Cal, and to see, what it was like for Cal, and to see the continuation of the Purge in Order 66, the whole thing that kicks off this plot is that the Sith are still tracking, or the Empire is still tracking down Jedi to kill them all, because ultimately the goal is to purge the galaxy of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see, a former Padawan trying to make a life out there on the run.
Yeah, I think that's really, it's a big part of what that game really does for the universe, is like seeing what happens to Padawans after Order 66, and that it has so many implications for characters like Ahsoka and Kanan, and I think it tells a lot about the universe. One of the things that I think is really interesting, this is a little bit unrelated, but Cal has a double-bladed lightsaber. And that has some implications for the lore as well, because traditionally, the double-bladed lightsaber is a Sith thing. In the movies, the only other character we see who uses a double-bladed lightsaber is Darth Maul.
Yeah.
But actually, the guards at the Jedi Temple.
The guards at the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
So they're not in the movies. They're in the Clone Wars and
Right.
in Star Wars Rebels by extension. And they fulfill a very unusual and mysterious role in the Star Wars lore, at least in the current canon. And not a whole lot is known about them. They're also the only ones who are seen using yellow lightsabers, which in the Legends material was a symbol of the Jedi Sentinels.
The Sentinels
who
are not to be fucked with.
Yeah, right. That's like a whole other thing. But he uses a double-sided lightsaber in the same way that like Darth Maul does, like the traditional lightsaber. Whereas the ones that the Jedi Guard uses, like folding light pike with two ends that are lightsabers.
From a plot perspective, it makes you wonder when he ever got the training to use a double saber, and also to do advanced techniques like breaking.
I was just gonna get into that. So they don't really show you exactly why he uses a double lightsaber, but they imply it heavily. So his master is a Lasat, right? So a Lasat is a species in Star Wars that you learn a lot about watching Rebels because of the Lasat that's on the Ghost. And their traditional weapon is like a double-sided lightsaber. I mean, it essentially functions like
it's like a staff that's very similar, held in the middle like you would hold the double-sided lightsaber.
Right, with electric blades on either end. So his master, who also uses a double-sided lightsaber, probably uses the double-sided lightsaber because of his Lasat heritage, and then trained Cal to use a double-sided lightsaber.
That's definitely exactly why.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why I never thought of that, because like that's so smart. Wow, that makes me love this game even more.
I know, right? That's one of the things I think is super
they knew
cool
they were going to
about
want him to have a double saber.
Yeah, and I think it's a really great way to have gotten a mechanic that they probably wanted in the game,
and make it make sense in the lore.
Really good, solid reasoning in the lore.
Yeah, wow.
That blew past me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Damn, Ben.
Little nuggets.
Damn.
But yeah, man, I'm a pretty big fan of that little subtle thing that they did there.
Yeah. You got anything else to say about it's fit into the lore, Zach?
No, I mean, I think the sequel for the game that comes out, I definitely believe that it's going to, I mean, obviously it's going to expand it even further, but
is there going to be a sequel?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
They're doing a sequel.
Yeah.
Oh, dope.
But I mean, obviously it's going to expand even further, but I think now that they realize that this is the type of game and that people want and that they're invested in these characters, they're going to take what could have potentially been, a slightly more expanded storyline and just blow it out of proportion, like in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what's going to happen to Cal.
Hopefully in a good way. Well, yeah, I wonder what's going to happen to Cal too, especially
he's not in
after they destroyed the holocron. But like, I do have some worries about a potential sequel.
Yeah.
And it's the same worries I have about the second season of Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah?
And it's that as much as I'm really stoked to see Ahsoka, I worry that after the success of this game, and especially the way that Disney and Lucasfilm have been course correcting the shit out of everything lately.
Oh God, yeah.
The second game might tie in way too much to characters we already know. And what I really loved about this game character-wise was that we don't know anybody other than Darth Vader. And I think and like what's his face? The Forrest Whitaker character.
Oh,
like we
yeah.
kind of know we know him.
Saw
Gerrera. And and I think Chewbacca's maybe mentioned.
Chewbacca's is
in
mentioned.
there, yeah. But that's about it. Otherwise, it's like this new self-contained character story, and I want that to continue. I would hate for like them, the next game, they're like, oh, you need to rendezvous with this rogue, Han Solo, and it's like young Solo, fresh out of Solo, you know what I mean? Like,
so I don't think we're gonna run into that problem, and the reason why is because at least when I think about with the Mandalorian, for instance, I think it's impossible for that to be an issue in the Mandalorian, because the format that the Mandalorian season 1 took, it's not super serialized. I mean, it is a serial show. I mean, there is a chronology to the episodes, but every episode is totally self-contained. And I think Ahsoka will probably appear as a character in one of the episodes.
I wouldn't be worried if it was just Ahsoka. It's the fact that we're also going to get Boba Fett.
Yeah, I mean, but we don't know.
It's like, when does that stop? Is it just those two?
Right. Or is it more?
And then it leads to the wider joke of, does anybody who falls into a hole in Star Wars actually die?
Yeah.
No, they don't. Obviously part of the rules of that universe are that if you fall into a hole, you are actually alive.
Yep.
Even if you got cut in half.
Yep.
All right,
You just land on a trampoline.
Let's name off some of the characters who have been put into a hole.
The Emperor. Darth Maul. Boba Fett.
Yep.
Kylo Ren in episode 9.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
Who else?
There's I had another one.
There's
in my
definitely
head, but
more.
I lost it. Yeah, I don't know.
There's for sure more, but
I'm
whatever.
sure there's more. But
Yeah.
like those are definitely the important
Those are the big ones, I
ones.
think. Yeah.
Oh man.
And they all come back.
They all come
Every
back.
single one of
Yeah.
them.
But I was gonna say something. I don't remember what it was.
Sorry, Ben.
Yeah, I guess I just had
It's a pan shot.
it's a pan shot. Yeah,
pan
my,
shot.
my brain is Swiss cheese. Sorry, guys.
Delicious.
Star Wars is fun though.
Mm.
Big fan of Star Wars.
All right. So anything else for the goodie bag, guys? Any last minute things you want to talk about before we get into our final verdict?
Yeah, if you don't ship Cal and Maris, you're just wrong.
All right, I guess I'm wrong. All right.
Zach, you're off the show. No, for real. Bye. I'm eating your mic now.
No, there is a couple things. First of all, I just want to breeze past this really quick, and then I'll get to the more important part. Fuck those spiders. Secondly,
The spiders, the spiders are
I
bad.
thought the spiders
Yeah.
were fine.
Oh, I have PTSD from the gross ass spiders.
Nah,
like
they
the
were
ones
so
on
nasty
Dathomir
looking, dude.
are okay.
I also hate those little things on the ground that like you touch them and they blow up.
Oh god,
those are fine. You can just force push them away.
I don't know. I feel like I have like trypophobia or something. 'Cause
Yeah.
I see them and I'm like,
that was
I
that was
see. Yeah, I
disgusting.
don't know.
No.
Both of those things were fine to me.
Really.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean the spiders on Dathomir are okay. The ones on Kashyyyk, no.
yeah, the ones on Kashyyyk are the ones I'm talking about. Those
Oh.
are
Easier
wicked
ones
gross.
to fight.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're both fine. But
No.
I like those big bulbs on Kashyyyk that you can jump on.
you know what?
those are
Speaking
fun.
of Kashyyyk, the weird thing on Kashyyyk for me was the heat-seeking flowers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those are just meant to be a mechanic that makes you hurry up along the platform,
Yeah, which is annoying.
Yeah. Especially because it's like a side-scrolling part where it does feel, it's one of the few things that feels kind of out of place in the platform. But
At
whatever.
least it's followed
It's a
up by you
small
getting
issue.
to surf down the side of the tree, which was pretty
That's
fun.
a thing this game does really good that I actually meant to mention earlier is those like scripted sequences like that. It does
Yeah.
really, really well.
Yeah. But my other point was just overall the creatures throughout the game. One of the big downsides to creating something from a different universe or alternate dimension or something is what I've noticed is that oftentimes the creature designs will be way too similar to animals you will find on Earth.
I mean, they have to take their inspiration from somewhere, right?
Well, I understand that,
Yeah.
obviously, but I mean,
they got two options: bipedal or quadrupedal, or
I mean, most of the people in the Star Wars universe are humans, so
Yeah.
I'm like,
and they're referred to as humans.
it's true.
You know,
right? But
and they use English.
I mean, what
I
I'm
mean, like,
saying,
at what
there's-
point are you gonna
Well,
like?
I think
you know
it's
what I mean?
intergalactic common, which
Okay.
is dubbed
But
as
they're using
English in the films.
our English. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and that's
Or galactic
all
common.
sci-fi uses the language of whatever culture it's supposed to be, made by. So, like, at what point do you just say, "I'm suspending disbelief," and this is a story? No, I'm not saying your opinion
Forest
is
for
wrong.
the trees.
Forest for the trees.
Sorry, Zach.
No, I'm saying like
No,
especially
you're
like in a
fine. We're
movie
fucking
like
with you.
Avatar,
Yeah.
where you can look at and it's extravagant and it's beautiful, but you can look
And
at
it
an
takes
animal
12
and
years
just
to
go,
make one movie.
yeah, that's a horse, Whereas in this game, there's quite a few animals that I don't know. They have certain characteristics. Whether it's
There's the one that's on a
Star
ram.
Wars
There's the
archetype.
one that's on Zepho that's straight up a ram.
Yeah, that's funny actually. There's
Yeah.
the one on top of the straight up for him. Now, did you guys rescue the little bog rat?
Yeah,
No.
mhm. I did. Yeah, that, if you go back to Bogano, once you can push the balls and stuff, it's kind of annoying, but like yeah, you can.
You have to like chase him around. Like he
Yeah.
chases, and then if you follow him and you follow him far enough, then instead of him like running away, he like you save him from like one of those bigger, more dangerous enemies. And then he
those big
joins
frog
your crew.
things, I think.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it's one of the big frog things. And then it joins your crew and he hides out on your ship. And
Yep.
like all of the other people on the crew like make offhanded comments about it, but never actually like
Oh,
Yeah, like
Never actually see
Grease
it.
is like this thing is stinking up my ship. Don't let
Grease.
it.
Oh, I love Grease.
Don't
So
let it relieve itself
did you
on
guys-
my couch.
did you guys get the dialogue where Grease is talking about Yaddle?
No.
All right, so this is pertaining to the wider Star Wars lore in a really funny way. So many of you have probably gone down the Yoda rabbit hole with the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda and learning about all the lore, the Yoda lore. So in the Star Wars universe, up until the existence of quote unquote Baby Yoda / the child, the only member of Yoda's species other than Yoda was Yaddle. And Yaddle was another member of the Jedi Council. Basically looked like Yoda, but more pinkish instead of green, and had like a gray ponytail thing. And they were the same species, but Yaddle never got any like dialogue or any real talk. Like never got a lot of talking about in the or maybe not pinkish, maybe more yellowy green. I don't know, slightly different shade of green. And there's a scene in the game where Grease is talking about this amazing Jedi that's like a little green master of the Force. And Cal is like, oh, you mean Master Yoda? And then he's like, no, Yaddle, the most beautiful being in the universe, or some like crazy thing like that. And then he's just talking about how he had a crush on Yaddle, this
That's funny.
like wrinkly little Yoda alien.
That reminds me of this one thing I saw on Reddit. This one meme where it was like Grease. You know that meme of Mike Wazowski where he's got two eyes and he's like frowning.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was that, but it was Grease, and it was like Grease
so
every
funny.
time you repaint the ship.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh my god.
Can you imagine he has to go out there with a ladder and a paintbrush and a bucket?
Oh my god, that's funny.
All right, shit, guys. All right, so final verdict. I'll go first. I love it. I think if you love Star Wars and you haven't played it yet, you probably have played it if you're listening. But yeah, it's awesome. I love it. If you've played it and you haven't replayed it, you should try it. New Game Plus is pretty good, and this game is awesome. Not perfect, but I'd give it like a 9. I think it's pretty close. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's like the max I'd give it, like a 9. I could probably get behind that. I've been thinking about this for the last 30 seconds, and I think that I'm gonna start listing my games on either the naughty or nice list. Because
Okay.
because I can't pick a top 10 in
Hashtag
games.
Ben's naughty list.
Ben's naughty list. Yeah. I think Jedi Fallen Order is on the nice list. It's a nice game. I like it. It's not like up there with some of my favorites. You know, like if you ask me what my favorite games are, it probably wouldn't come to mind. But I do love it, and I love it. I think more because it's a Star Wars game than anything else, and it's a good Star Wars game.
Yeah. Just to have a good Star Wars game is like, that shouldn't be underestimated. Like how important that is.
Yeah.
Have a really enjoyable Star Wars game.
You also have to remember that like generally game adaptations of movies are not good,
Yeah, and vice versa.
and vice versa. But this one is.
It's great.
yeah.
Final verdict,
how do you-
Zach?
My opinion is basically the same. I love this game. Like I said earlier, I could play it every day, never get tired of it. And I think 20, 30 years from now, it'll hold the same nostalgic factor that the Force Unleashed games have on me. You know?
So what we're all saying is that from the beginning of this podcast to the end of this podcast, none of our opinions have changed.
No, none whatsoever.
And sometimes that's just okay.
Yeah, all right. I think that makes sense.
All right, guys. So this was another episode of Your Boom is in the Shot.
Come send us your hate mail at
Yes,
yourboomisintheshot@gmail.com. I didn't say .gmail.com this time. I have a habit of saying that. If you send an email to yourboomisintheshot.gmail.com,
You're an idiot.
I don't know who will get it, but it
you're
won't be
dumber
us.
than me. But yeah, please send us your hate mail, send us your fan mail. If you have an idea for an episode that we want to see, leave it in the comments or send us an email if you're listening to us through any of the podcasting sources that aren't YouTube.
Yeah, and anything that you send to us, we will read it. We don't care what it is.
Yeah, it's true.
Yep. So, yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Come on.
Bye, guys.
Mister. You boom. Come on, man. You boom.